morning, everyone. Welcome to the last day of the Rise World Summit. We are a 6,000 plus strong community members with so many roundtables successfully happening. And today I'm very happy to welcome you all to this quirky title roundtable called Did Jill Come Tumbling After? And to know a little bit more about what this roundtable is all about and who are going to be speaking, I'll be inviting my colleague Nirja on the platform. To tell you a little bit about Nirja Ganesh is a TEDx speaker, has won multiple awards, most recent being Jobs for Her Rising Award in the Women in Impact category. She has also been featured as one of the 40 women who have traversed their life journeys from ordinary to extraordinary in the book Magical 40 and 40 at 40. Nirja heads the education initiative at Aspire for Her, and though she has a very long bio, I would request Nirja to just introduce herself a little bit and the rest of the panel. Nirja, over to you.
Thank you so much, Traiza. And no, I don't think today is a day for introductions, especially introducing myself. I think we are here to listen from everybody else. But it's an honor to be able to moderate this roundtable discussion, which we have called Did Jill Come Tumbling After? And by the end of this discussion, everyone will understand why we named it so. So, the United Nations SDG 5 talks about gender equality and empowering all women and girls. Women entrepreneurs are key agents in bringing about this equality and equity. Strengthening the women entrepreneurship ecosystem not only makes it a ground to have more women entrepreneurs, thus bringing in equality in numbers for sure, but it also brings in the much needed element of diversity and inclusiveness in the products, in the services, and the leadership that they bring to the market. Today, we have an impressive panel of women entrepreneurs whom we call EntrepreNaaris at Aspire for Her. Let me introduce them one by one, and it would be great if we can see all of them on the screen now. Great. 2 new products, 4+ new partners, featured across Grazia Vogue, LA, Miss Malini, 9,634 shipments across the country, 6,363 new customers, one big award nomination. This was year 2022 for IORA. And of course, before that was 22 years of Anita's Aromatic Solutions, the B2B brand, which continues to grow strong as we speak. Anita, we're all ears to hear about your story, the story of the woman who has been featured as one of the 100 emerging leaders who is on a mission to infuse wellness with aromatherapy, an inspired skincare line.
Thank you so much, Nirja. I'm really excited to be here. To give you a brief on myself, I actually started this journey almost 22 years back when I had just actually delivered my baby. That's when my interest in aromatherapy was at its peak. I did my course from Vasai College and got further into knowing in depth on the various products. I also did a course from Seema Gopuchkar in aromatherapy. And I actually started treating people with aromatherapy initially. But I just felt that the reach was very limited. And that got me to introduce aromatherapy in skincare. And that's how Anita's Aromatics was born. The biggest break came when we joined hands with a very big salon chain. And post that, there was never a looking back, and business has only grown since then. Cut to happened the lockdown, and the entire salon segment came to a complete standstill. And that's when I thought that, people are putting in so much of importance into their health, but no one really considers a product that wants to make my skin healthy. Most skincare brands are aiming at making you feel ugly by telling you have dark circles, you have fine lines, you have this, you have that, but no product really looks at improving or making your skin barrier strong so that it's able to take care of its issues itself. That's how IORA was born. IORA is a 1.5-year-old baby now, and it's India's first prebiotic skincare brand. Every day has been a learning. and I'm thoroughly enjoying this joyride, balancing two brands along with family, kids, and a house. That's all.
Wow, Anita, I can already smell it so well. And I think at the age that I am, I probably have to try this out. Okay. We will hear more about you and your brands and your journey for sure. Some of the thoughts that many women have, like, I hope the heels do not come off when I'm walking. Hope the lipstick is not smudging. Hope this dress is okay for this event. Really thought so today also. There are no pockets in this clothes. What should the nail paint be like? Should I carry a big bag or a small purse? Hope I don't trip over this sari. I'm sure this sounds familiar to many women, right? To blend our own style with what is happening or what is the happening style out there and wondering whether it would suit us. These and many more are the challenges that women face. Adding to it is a research which says that an Indian woman browses 60 product pages before making a purchase. I myself am not an online buyer, but when I do browse, that number I think is definitely true. Browsing different websites and then visualizing whether it would suit me. So, Kuntal, please tell us the story behind making looking good easy. Did the eureka moment to start style nook come by while surfing Netflix, trying to find the right movie to suit your mood for the day?
Very close, Nirja. I mean, it's Netflix is definitely a big inspiration for what we're building. I think just to also kind of throw people a little bit off track, my background is actually not in fashion. I'm not a stylist. I'm not a designer. I get asked that all the time because I run a personal styling and a shopping service company. My background is actually in AI and data. I've been in that space since now 2002, and before, like, data or AI was considered like the sexy buzzword that it is today. Back in the day, it was just data analytics, and you're sitting and crunching and trying to figure out what it is that you can do. And for me, I think when I got introduced to that field, I fell in love with it because I could immediately see how by building models and algorithms, you could make things better. You could make things easier. And I'm saying this because that was actually the inspiration and the context for how Style Nook came into play. Like most women, as you said, right? We do love to look good. Everybody loves to dress up. Everybody wants to look good. I think the difference that comes in, and which is often as we get to, like, different biases also that women actually go through, it is always assumed that women love to browse, women love to shop, they love to spend endless hours, like, going through malls and stores and all that. And maybe you do when you are younger, or maybe you do at a certain time when you have that bandwidth. But it's not true all the time for every single woman. And I think for my co-founder and I, we were kind of just like talking about different things, and we had gone shopping. One of us had gone shopping, or both of us had gone shopping for something. And I, by the way, have been buying online. I've been buying my clothes online for now over 12 years. I'm very comfortable buying online, so it's not even as if I'm dealing with the mall and the traffic and all that stuff. But I just was kind of like, okay, this is extremely boring, just going through page after page after page, going through 1,000+ products, even if I apply filters and everything. And there has to be an easier way to get access to what I want, given the kind of technology we have in place. If Netflix can actually, recommend what I should see based on some inputs and my past behavior, why can't there be something similar in fashion? You have personalization in music, you have personalization in movies, you have it even in coffee in some places, right? So clothes, which we spend so much time looking for, or which actually make up our everyday like scenario, why can't there be an easier way to get this? And that's how that's how we kind of walked into building Style Nook, where by understanding a little bit about what you tell us yourself through algorithms and a human stylist, we can actually provide validation, guidance, and discovery. Because those are the three things that matter in the fashion experience, which is different from other products experiences that users have. So that's how Style Nook came into play.
Wow. So do you also do saris, or is it only
No, we
non-sari
do
wear?
sarees because I mean I mean, that's a part and parcel of our daily wear, right? So
I'll check it
we do that.
out. Okay. Um, so my daughter, who's now 21, she left her spacious room in our house last year. The room which has more wardrobes than any other room in the house. And she went to stay in a paying guest accommodation near her college. I almost fainted when I saw the size of the room, which was being shared by two girls, and that one slim wardrobe, which was also being shared by two girls. So, she just got one part of it. And while we were checking out the other rooms in the paying guest accommodation, I did see that there was someone who had come all the way from Kolkata to Bangalore. So we are in Bangalore. And that girl had also brought and placed another cupboard in the room, right? So, well, for these girls who might at best travel to their hometown twice a year, if that be, there was no way out, right? You to kind of keep as many clothes for the year, for the 6 months. Now, my girl is lucky as she does come home over the weekend. And if not, then she gets the next set of 7 dresses for the following week Dunzo. Dunzo is a local courier service that we have. So there's no question of, I don't want to repeat this dress, etc. for her. Now, the idea of 3-in-1 definitely resonates with me, Niti. I must say that. So do tell us more about your journey towards less is more.
Well, I think you already given a real situation of why people need our clothes. And if I go back, I was technically in the same situation a few years ago because I was living in Italy and I was not so proud, but a victim of fast fashion. And my mom had given me a small budget to go shopping every Saturday. And yeah, I was, and every day was a new struggle because I was living the same life that I would go to the office and then I had to go for a party, and then I would either have to carry a change or I wouldn't go because I was not rightly dressed. So it was always a struggle. Low cost airlines, traveling light was again another problem. So with time I kept nagging about all of these things, and then I was like, hang on, you know what, there has to be a solution because women are always complaining of never having clothes to wear, never having the place to keep them, and they can surely not travel light. So, what do you do? So, that is when I was like, let's try finding a solution. But then it wasn't just a solution to women. We also made sure that we were also being a little more responsible towards the environment. And that is how Twee came in picture, because 3-in-1 is a brand which specializes in reversible and convertible clothing, where our clothes transform from a day look to a night look, an office look to a party look. So you can have as many transformations without people around you knowing of what you really transform in your garment. And it just made fun, and at the same time we were telling people that it's okay to repeat your clothes, it's okay to slow down. So I wouldn't say that we are stopping people from not disposing of their clothes, but probably we're just delaying the disposal is how I would say. So probably we can still save a beach from becoming a landfill. So that is our story, and yeah, we have just been having fun and gathering all the different situations from places and people, and building new collections day after day.
Wow. And you have the same question from me. Do you do saris?
Never say never, but yes, soon enough. Let's see.
Thank you. You have a customer here.
Absolutely.
Okay. So again, as I said earlier, I'm not an online buyer, but I'm quite fascinated, intrigued to the point of disbelief, and thinking that there must be a loophole or something wrong with the product that is being sold online. Because when we look at the prices at which they get sold, compare it to what we have to pay in a physical store, it's like really, really low, right? So I just don't understand how this works. So Roshni, do tell us your story towards sell more at marketplaces.
Thank you. Thanks, Neeraja. So I'm very glad to be in this conference today where we can celebrate and encourage the progress and achievement of all the women, gathered here. So I have been working in the retail analytics space, AI machine learning, from the past 17 years. And I've also worked with global large companies like IKEA, and been worked abroad as well. So in all these companies that I found a pattern where, also when we looking at the way that people shop today, a lot of things have shifted online, like Kuntal has mentioned, right? People are comfortable buying things online today, from clothing to the electronics to anything. The range is very wide. So now when we the people from the other side, we are the buyers, but people who are selling these products online, e-commerce sellers, there is quite many. For India, you have millions of sellers, and even abroad, even in other countries as well. So these people are mostly in the small, medium segment, because there are large corporates, but you could see that the small, medium sellers have increased quite a bit online. So for large corporates, you have a big analytics team, people, working and crunching data and coming out with insights. But when we look at the small and medium sellers, they do not have access to any of these, capabilities or tools today, and it's not, affordable as well for a small medium seller. And again, on marketplaces, like any marketplaces that you take, the big ones, big four, and it's a struggle being a seller selling online, because you have multiple things, like your listing getting taken down, and without advertisement you cannot sell, the basic hygiene, quite a lot of things, apart from pricing also being one of the major things. And this cannot be done manually, because when you have multiple SKUs, multiple products to sell, you cannot sit there and look at all your listing manually. And even if you are engaging people, you need to have hundreds of employees sitting and doing that. So that is where we come in with the help of our AI-powered SaaS tool called Q Smart Sell. We want to empower all the sellers, sell more. So it's already been MVPs tested, and we have a lot of customers who are seeing the kind of increase in sales on all the marketplaces. So I'm here to kind of make a positive impact in the e-commerce industry, and also to kind of mention how I got in. Right, one of my friend Deepa, who's out of Pune, she's drop shipping from China and selling it in a lot of products in India. So she was narrating her issues with selling online, because she was facing quite a bit. Initially there was a growth, but after that she stalled, and it was a struggle. So that is when she started asking me for some bit of. So that is when I just thought, and this thing occurred, that probably there is a need, huge need for all the sellers, and we are making positive impact in the e-commerce industry, looking to help everyone. So please reach out.
Sure, Roshni. Definitely that's an impact. Claire, you're going last in the panel, but I'm sure not the least, and we'll have many interesting stories from your side to listen to today. But to start with, you started as a data analyst, and today your passion to improve the economic and social outcomes for girls and women in marginalized communities, using innovation, policy, technology, creativity, and data to solve everyday problems really comes across so beautifully. So do tell us about your story.
So, hello everyone. Nice to be on this panel of amazing women. As you already know, my name is Claire Henshaw, and I work as the programs specialist with UNDP Nigeria. And one of my key mandate working with UNDP is to support employment, job creation, and mostly with a focus on women and the youth, to enable them thrive, and also to help Nigeria accelerate its SDG goals. In the last few years, working with women has been a focal point for us, because there are so many factors that work against women. And so it oftentimes gives me a lot of pleasure to see when women are thriving, because as we all know, women are the backbone of the family. And when the woman is succeeding, it means that her family and her children will thrive. So it's quite critical for us to ensure that women have access to the support they need to grow their small businesses or even SMEs. And it's been quite challenging, supporting female-owned businesses in Nigeria, because there are so many issues that you want to, on one hand, address to ensure that women, first and foremost, even have access to be able to, thrive within the ecosystem where businesses run. And while it is quite impressive that in terms of MSMEs, women own up to about 41% of that segment here in Nigeria, it's a different story when it comes to SMEs. Well, that's a conversation we can take up later. One of the most interesting things for me is that, in view of the support that we have been offering to women, and I'm sure this also aligns with the sector in India, is that more women are willing to put themselves out there to test what is available and to see how well they can thrive given the opportunity. And while there are so many issues around biases that limit women from accessing support, um, part of my role is to ensure that women know that there are opportunities that they can tap into. And this is a major gap. You find that in terms of the digital economy, women are oftentimes less, they're not taking advantage of what technology and what's the social media space and even what ICT offers. And who can blame them? You still find that there are disparities when it comes to women's access to education, women's access to skills, women's access to finance. But our goal, and my goal at UNDP Nigeria, is to help close that gap, to ensure that as many women as possible, especially within the informal sector, and of course in the most rural communities and the most neglected parts of Nigeria, are able to be seen and heard. And it's interesting again to know that during the course of my work, even in last year, one of the key contributions that UNDP has been able to do through the support of government is to ensure that women have access to bank accounts. I mean, that is a big break for so many women that often have to save under their mattresses, and then the next day money is out of the house because they have to support with food. COVID-19 showed the impact of women's support in families, because you find that a lot of women were enabled to have and start new businesses as a result of the contributions that we made. So it will be more very interesting to also learn from the amazing women here how their businesses have thrived despite the challenges, and take some of the learnings as well to strengthen programs that will help support some of our women. But one thing I do know is that Nigerian women are resilient. Nigerian business women are doing great jobs, and the best way that we can truly show the world that we're trying to close the gender gap is to ensure that, aside from having access to education, those skills and technical capacities that women need to grow their businesses, to shine through, to access funding, and we continue to take advantage of them, continue to shine the light on them, and ensure that women, even in the remote part of Nigeria and even all over the world, are seen and are heard. Thank you.
Wow, that's so impressive. So listening to each of you here, a few themes, did emanate common for sure. I think most of the work that we are doing, definitely our target segment largely is women, and the second is data seems to be a common theme, right? All of us are really making use of the data to create a larger and more meaningful impact, the right impact. And I think it's not just that the data is the new oil and the new engine. So glad that we're using that to really different and creative uses. Inspirational journeys each of you have had, and whether it was unintentional, whether it was an unintentional trigger that set you on the entrepreneurial path, or a very intentional desire to make a change, I'm sure everyone who's listening to this would start nurturing a dream to become an entrepreneur someday. I'm sure it's not been an easy journey. It definitely would have had its own set of challenges, successes, and learnings. So let's kind of, talk about that. It's very bad fashion. I don't think anyone will wear this. You should shut this down. Why are you wasting your time? We know that if this was asked in a school question paper in the traditional style of answer with reference to context, who said this, etc., all students will get their marks. So my question here is about understanding product fit, right? So Niti, in your case, assessing the need, the market availability, getting both sides of your dress right, the designs, the fit, the comfort, and of course, building the brand also. What has been your journey in this space? We would really want to hear about some of the challenges that you had, successes for sure, and the learnings.
Oh my God, learning was, I think every day is a challenge, every single day. My brand is about 5 years old now. And when I was starting off and when I had certain set of mentors from the industry, they all said the same thing. They were like, okay, you know what, this is creative, but where's the money? Where's the business? So I was like, it's going to come. It's going to take a while, but it would come. And I was just, my gut feeling was very strong that this is going to succeed one day. And some of them said, okay, you know what, why don't you start with a slow fashion brand, but on the side, get a fast fashion brand to make the money to support the slow fashion brand. I said, no, that's not how it works. So I was still kind of stubborn. And then obviously, like a lot of people know who've been following Shark Tank India, from my mentors to, the sharks, we've heard this thing repeatedly time and again that, it's not good, it's not a good fashion. But probably people also find it difficult because people who see the business side feel like you are asking people to shop less, which if eventually affects the business side. But at the same time, if I have to talk about my audience, it was very difficult for me to convince people that something like this could exist, because transforming clothes to different, like, if I have to quickly give you an example, I one of my best sellers is also a day dress that gets transformed into a party jumpsuit. So for people to actually see something like that and believe that something could transform to that extent for a ready to wear was something very hard to believe. So it did take us a lot of time to convince them that something like this could exist, and it does exist. So that was one of our biggest challenges in the beginning. But we kind of just got lucky because we also started trending thanks to Instagram reels and everything. And yeah, I think so. It's been a journey. It's still a learning curve every single day, but we openly accept all the criticism, all the different suggestions, everything that comes to us, because we strongly believe that every single thing is somewhere going to teach you something to make your brand better and more accessible for people. So that's my story for my challenges.
Thank you. I think the mindset is the most important. The rest will, get dealt with. But kudos to you to have kind of, I'm sure, I mean, what we saw was a bit of it on Shark Tank. I'm sure you've seen and heard more of it. But I think what happened after that was phenomenal. So really, congratulations, Niti. And
Thank you.
love to see the picture on the Amul poster. So really, really
Yeah.
cool.
That was surely one day which was not expected. So yes.
Yeah, that's right. So the mindset is all that kind of makes things happen. Right? You never
Yeah.
know where success comes from, where inspiration comes from, and where outcomes, just tumble out. You wouldn't even have expected, right? So yeah, keep at it. Roshni, I think we have a couple of common friends, right? Purnima Shenoy, who's your strategy advisor, and Jamina Menon, who's your chief strategy officer. And I also see that you have other advisors also in the space of technology, investment, the domain itself, and so on. So my question to you is, how and when did you realize the need for advisors? And how are they different to mentors, if they are, right? And of course, we all know there's a value add of having mentors and advisors, but what is the ideal way one decides to bring on board such people, and where do you go and find these advisors and mentors? I would love it if you can tell us some stories of how you might have struggled without having some expert advice and how it was turned around by an advisor.
Yeah, sure, Nircha. So I can really vouch for the benefits of having a mentor and advisors, because they can really help you with all kind of ups and downs of starting a business. Because when I started this, this was my first startup, and all throughout my career I've been working with companies and used to taking that salary at the end of the month. And this was the first time when I was getting on my own, right? So it was really required for me to look for mentorship and advisor. And as the woman, again, woman entrepreneur, it's something that you might also because one of my main mentor is a woman who is a source of guidance and inspiration, who's Purnima Shenoy, who's also your friend, Neerja. And she has shared her own experiences and offered valuable insights and helped me navigate all the things, because she had also had startup before. So as a woman entrepreneur, it's slightly probably different as compared to what kind of issues and challenges that men face. Of course, a lot of things are same, but when it comes to kind of women and entrepreneurship, it could be different. But I would really vouch for it, because having a mentor can really help you on the way. So finding the right for all the people, like even if it's for your career or if it's for your entrepreneurship, finding the right advisors and mentor can be a really big game changer. it's important to find the people that you trust, right? Also, who will give you honest feedback, right, on the face. Okay, this is not the way that it should be, you need to work in some other way. So also will stick with you through good times and bad, right? Sometimes things will work out in your favor, sometimes things may not work out, but who has to be there with you through the good and bad times, because we know this journey, it's at ups and downs, and things might work very well one day, and the next day things are not as good as the good times. So I think, how do you find these people, right? So you can start reaching out to your network and connect with, successful business people in your, network, and also be part of these incubators and accelerators and women entrepreneurship programs, which is Aspire for Her you have, and you also have like AIC Banastali, which I was part of, which is again concentrated on women entrepreneurship. So all this can be a great resource for finding the potential mentor. So Purnima Shenoy, I actually got connected through one of my friend Kajiri. So we used to work in Infosys before together. She was also in, AI in my team, and not in my team, another team, but we very close friends. And so then when I was just about to start, she just said, "Why don't you speak to this person?" So that is how, we just got connected and got started. And but it's also important to remember that mentorship is like a two-way street, right? It's a two-way relationship. You need to also give some kind of a value to the mentor, by kind of exposing what kind of insights they are giving to you, and they also learn something from you that way. So I think, I really feel that mentorship really can help you grow as a person. Also, you can also get some advisors. I'm really lucky. So somebody was saying that all you need I think it was Anita in our last meeting, all you need to do is ask for it, right? So if you need, just ask around, ask in your network, ask people. So I think as women, again, we are hesitant to ask for help, right? So it's just about going out and putting yourself, and it might feel vulnerable, right? You're asking for some help, but it's okay to do that, and just do that. And I think finding the right person, you can really, it can really help you in your journey.
Thanks, Rashni. Yeah, well said. And true, I think we need to ask, and there's nothing that needs to be done all by yourselves. There's enough and more learning out there, which you can definitely, tap on. And people are available. You will be surprised when you ask, in the forms and in the ways that help pours in. So yeah, please do, ask. And you have heard from Roshni in terms of how it has helped and benefited her and her business. So, Anita, coming to you, you have an interesting story of starting your venture because of a personal need. And then you took the B2B route, and more recently, also probably because of the opportunity which got triggered due to the pandemic, you're looking at a B2C segment also. However, we've been taught when we start a business that we should draw this business model canvas before we plunge into a business, where amongst the various parameters of a business, like value proposition, the channels, the revenue streams, etc., the customer segment is also supposed to be fleshed out at the very beginning. So do you think you would have done anything differently when you started it off? If you were more intentional about it, would you have tried B2C first, or would you have done both in parallel? What have been some of your challenges, successes, and learnings in this customer segment space?
So for me, I have been lucky to kind of be a part of both the segments. B2B for the longest time, wherein we've dealt with salons and spas for a really long time. Now, what I have understood is when you supply products to a B2B market, it is more need based. They will get into the product details, they will get into how to use the product, and basically get to the absolute root of everything. Whereas in a B2C, I feel the purchase is more impulse based. It's because I feel like buying it, it's because it smells good, it looks good, I just pick up the product. And so both are very different segments. And in a way, like for me at least, I have felt that initially when we started Iora, I still had that very B2B mindset, because for me B2C was a completely different ballgame. Now, when I started with the Iora in the first place, we launched salon-like kits, which the people can use in the comfort of their house. Now, initially in the lockdown, it did very well because the salons and all were shut. But the minute the salons started opening up, the sales started falling. And that's when I realized that if we have to keep Iora in the marketplaces, we have to make sure that we are educating the customer and making him understand why it is important to strengthen his skin's barrier. And that's how a prebiotic skincare came into being. So we had to change the entire identity around Iora. But for me, the B2B, the credibility, the knowledge, the in-depth analysis that happens really helped me build a strong product in Iora. So today, when a customer or anyone asks me about what is there in the product, why it is put, I have an in-depth knowledge of why what is done and what each ingredient does for you. And I think end of the day, businesses have to churn out money. So if you feel your particular product is selling more in a salon, then go sell it in a salon. If it's selling in a retail premises, then do it. Have a very omni-channel approach. Nowadays, you cannot say that I'm only an offline brand or only an online brand, and I will only supply here and I will only do this. I think it's an omni-channel approach, and you need to test the waters. You need to see what works for you, and then accordingly take a step forward and go very gradually. Like dip your feet in the water first and then plunge in. Don't just go all out. Once you're sure, only then you scale up from there. So start slow, but start surely. That is what I have always believed in.
So, if you had an opportunity to redo this, would it still be in the same manner, or would you have changed anything?
So if I have the opportunity to redo it, Nirja, I would have started straight away from the prebiotic product. I spent like a good 6 to 8 months trying to push a salon-like kit to the end consumer.
Correct.
And but anyways, I just feel it's a learning curve for everyone. And how many ever years of entrepreneurship, or you've been in business for such a long time, every day is a learning. And if you have to succeed, you have to be a learner every single day, every single moment. There are no two ways about it. No one is superb at whatever he does or not so good at whatever he does. It's a learning, it's a capability that you have to keep building along the way every day.
Well said, well said. This morning there was someone who had messaged me and she was telling me, or rather asking me, how do you get the energy to keep at it? And she's running a community of women, for women sales professionals, Chitra Singh. And she said, I'm getting a little tired, Nirja. I said, no, I think we are in it. And, you can't afford to get tired because we all have heard it, right? The moment we decide that this is it, I think the next moment has the right opportunity for us. So I don't think we can ever say this is it. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, Anita. Kuntal, coming to you, from the well-paying jobs of PwC, Yahoo, Zoomin.com, and to the many others, to becoming an independent consultant and then getting into entrepreneurship. How does and how should an entrepreneur look at funding her venture? Now, we've heard of bootstrap ventures, which eventually raise funds. An idea sometimes gets funded. There is family and friends funding. There are angels who help. There are venture funds. And then eventually there's an IPO. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this part of the funding and in your journey, your challenges, successes, learnings in this space.
Sure. How long do we have, Nirja?
Oh, we have. Please go ahead. Please go ahead. Good on time. Yeah, good on time.
No, I'm just kidding. It's a loaded question. But I think, first of all, one of the things that I wanted to put out there, right? The media in the last few years has made it seem like funding is the be all and the end all for a startup and a small business, right? And that's not the case. There are a lot of examples of companies that have been phenomenally successful, being bootstrapped all the way. One of the most famous ones, which I think every single small business owner, entrepreneur knows, is MailChimp. MailChimp has never taken any external funding. They've been bootstrapped from day one, and they got acquired by Intuit last year, right? A great story. Closer home, we have like Zoho Corporation. So it's not really the case that you have to be. I mean, you have to fundraise in order to be successful. I think the fundamental question that every single founder needs to ask themselves, and it's this book which I've always kept close to me, and I keep reading it over and over again. It's called The Founder's Dilemma. And when you're thinking about fundraising, the question that you're also asking yourself is, do I want to be king or do I want to be rich? Right? Because as you fundraise and you bring people into the stream or into the mix of your business, you are allowing people to come into your business and have a say. Now, it's not a bad thing for them to have a say, but along with that, you could also like have the ability to expand your business very quickly, grow rich. But yes, you could lose control as well. There are lots of stories about founders as well, as they've gone on to get venture capital. They themselves have been booted out of their own businesses that they started, right? So it's a different way that you kind of look at it. You're just saying that, okay, I have decided that this is how I want to grow my business, or I can look at it in a sustainable manner and bootstrap it. I think once you decide to go down that route, I mean, there are like multiple things that come into play at different stages, right? Like you said, some founders may at the like start, even if they've not put a product out there, will be able to go ahead and raise money straight off the bat. And they will be able to do it not just maybe from an angel network, but they'll be able to do it from a VC. So sometimes the stages are a little bit, or the stages or the players who come in at each stage, it's not necessarily a well laid out rule book that you can follow. It does kind of blur. But I think the fundamental thing when it comes to external funding, sometimes I feel more than product market fit, because I think, as Anita just said, right, you have to be open to change. You have to be open to seeing what could happen. A lot of investors will actually look at founder market fit. They're actually betting on the founder. They're not betting that much on, yes, they will bet on the space. They may be excited about the space, and that's why they start the initial conversation. But the final decision is actually happening because they're betting on the founder to make it through. They're betting on the founder to identify that, hey, this is working, not working. How do I make this happen? Because execution is the key. So that is what they're betting on. They're betting on you as a founder. Now, I think one quick note that I wanted to kind of put out there is, like, even for anyone who's looking to expand their business, right? In the last 2 years or last 3 years, there are actually a bunch of different options that have also come in which do not involve any dilution of equity, such as revenue-based financing. And based on the unit economics of your business, based on how your working capital functions, your margins, that sometimes can be an attractive option to go for as well. So I think net, as far as fundraising is concerned, or as far as, let's say, external capital versus internal capital is concerned, you need to kind of really identify where you are, what you want to do, what is your growth plan, for year 1, year 2, year 3. Can you actually make it on your own? Maybe you don't want to make it on your own also. Maybe you don't want to bootstrap. Maybe you've decided, I will bring in external capital. What kind of external capital? Not just, fundraising is not the only one. There are a bunch of other options such as revenue-based financing. There are grants as well, depending on what field you're in, right? So it's not, as I said, fundraising unfortunately has been painted as the be-all and the end-all for startups, but it's not the case.
Thank you. So yesterday I was at an event, and it was on the fintech side, and there was a panel on funding winter. So I'm just learning terms, but eventually I think, as you said it rightly, it's the founder. And of course, there are many other elements, but I think it's about what you want to do, right? There is no, let me do what she did or let me do what someone else has done, even if it is a similar space to be in. But thank you for those inputs. This is sounding like a masterclass with 4 experts and 5 experts talking about the ingredients of becoming a good entrepreneur. Thank you for sharing your journey, which will definitely help everyone in the audience reflect on their own journeys and possibly give them another perspective to look at, in their business. So Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. We all have heard this nursery rhyme. One of the variations of this rhyme that I came across had these add-on lyrics. When Jill came in how, she did grin to see Jack's paper plaster. Mother vexed did whip her next for causing Jack's disaster. Now, how does one decide that it was Jill who caused Jack to fall down? And if she did grin, because he probably looked a sight with the plaster, she gets whipped. I think we can draw parallels of this rhyme in our everyday life, in everything that we do, including being a woman entrepreneur. So let's talk about some biases and stereotypes that exist. While gender is definitely one of them, age could be another, the place that you come from, the institution that you come from, where you've studied, maybe the product itself. Like here, we're talking about many of us being in the women's product segment, right? And yes, one of the most important things is the co-founder, if it happens to be a man or a woman or maybe no co-founder. So what would help all of us here when you do speak about, these biases and stereotypes is how you may have dealt with it, right? Or how you overcame with it. Can we start with you, Niti?
Okay, so like you rightly said that obviously, we do, we do make women products, like women-based products. In fashion, the most common thing that I have always heard is, oh, that's a hobby, right? You've just learned fashion, you've just learned sewing, you're probably just doing tailoring business. And I'm like, no, that's a business, that's a brand that we're trying to run here. There's a difference in the society that we're trying to make here. And they're like, no, it's just a hobby. You can probably just do it for a while, make some pocket money. So I think that is something which is very difficult, and especially in a country like India, because there are so many talented women who also are homegrown brands. Of course, not everyone is out there. There are some people who are just happy with what they're doing, also because they're just creative about it. But I just feel you can't generalize that. And that is one thing that I have heard the most, and we are still in that journey of how to break that myth and be like, no, women can still make a fashion brand and try to make it big enough to make a very big difference in the society.
So what do you do when such things hit you? Any one incident you want to narrate, or how does someone just stay resilient through all of this?
I think you've just heard it too many times. Like, okay, if you feel so, let I don't want to talk. I'm like, let my actions speak. So once we start growing bigger, once people start recognizing us, and because we've been trending on social media, so people do see the difference. And they're like, oh, you are getting there. We're like, okay, thanks. You just thought that we were just doing a hobby, but no, we are having fun here. So it's okay. Let your actions speak, and I think the world would know what you're trying to prove.
So good, Niti. Thank you for that. Thank you. Roshni, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So, just as I started the journey into, the entrepreneurship, two biases that I would like to, kind of talk about today is like, one is a competence bias. That is, women are considered less competing. Less, kind of a competence as compared to men. So also it comes to, kind of when you are the woman founder who has the majority of the, stake, and you are running the company yourself. So, there is always a question that, is there a male co-founder along with you, right? So this kind of things can be, kind of devastating, because, you are putting all your, effort and your, kind of things into it. So I think, but these things are addressed today because I see a lot of help from government and a lot of organizations that is coming up, and even at organization levels, you have kind of for women a lot of programs that I see. And the earlier question again, kind of circling back to that, having mentors and advisors also can help with this thing. And kind of yeah, so since I'm a woman entrepreneur, so I've also made sure that a lot of the employees that I've taken, right, it's not by I mean, so I had made this uh, conscious effort to bring in more women. So you would see that it's kind of, even though I have very less number of employees, but it is leaning towards women, and it's a tech company. So again, that bias that in tech it's more of men. Men do men are better software engineers or men are better in tech. I do not believe that is true, because I feel that. For example, I have an employee called Rashmi. She's amazing, in tech, and she was a fresher. She's coming, and she is still there with the company. And so I would say that it's a lot of these are kind of biases which is existing in the industry about women and women, kind of a lot of stereotypes. So these are not really true when it comes to the reality and statistics. So, and again, one more thing that, because from my experience, I would say that there is a risk averse bias also, that comes into picture. So that means that, there is a belief that women are less risk, averse to risk taking, or they are less risk taking. So when it comes to businesses, you need, when people have to invest in you, you need to be more risk taking, because they will invest in someone who's risk taking, and that would fetch more of returns for their investment. So this is again another kind of bias that I had to fight during this time of my entrepreneurship. But you can really come out successful, because we are also raising funds now. We just got commitment. So I think it's not true that some of these things you can work and overcome. So, and as women entrepreneurs, women employ, kind of people who can make some changes, so you just start from you, right? So you mean from your organization, from people around you. So that is how I think things can change over a period of time. Thank you.
Thanks, Roshni. I think, yeah, be a little thick-skinned, I guess, and just kind of tell the world, as Niti said, just watch what happens, next. Great, Anita, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so for me, I think the biggest challenge was that when I started my career, my daughter was 5 months of age. And that was the time when I used to actually make the products at home. I did not have the kind of volumes for any manufacturer to manufacture it for me. I used to make it from home. And the question that I got asked most was, how are you going to commit to our volumes with such a small baby? Because with baby, things can, every day is different. So we have our commitments, and one of the salons actually told me, Madam, a salon is like a retail store. If I do not have the product to service the client, he's simply going to go to another shop or another salon. So I can't lose my client because of that. So how do you commit to being able to service my orders and give it to me on time every time? So that kind of a bias, I don't think a guy is ever asked a question that now that you have a baby, how are you going to come and service my order? you know so I think as a woman it's very important, and for me, I was lucky. I had a very strong family backing. I had a lot of support from my mother-in-law, husband, and that's how the journey became very easy. But I would highly tell everyone, do not hesitate or let that ego come in the way, and ask for help. If you need help with your kids, ask for help. It's okay if you can't attend a particular PTA meeting. You don't have to go through that entire guilt trip. It's absolutely fine if you cannot attend a particular family function, uh, because by the end of it, your family has your back. They understand what you're doing, and they respect you for what you are doing. So I would definitely say the best way to deal with this is learn to strike a balance, which is very difficult. But I liked what Indira Nui has mentioned in one of her books, where she says that you cannot be perfect and do everything. There'll be days wherein you have to be more of a mom. There'll be days where you'll have to be more of a businesswoman. So you have to choose and walk that rope and decide every single day is different. So that's how I feel is the best way to deal with these gender biases that come along.
So true, so true. I know. And I have to say about the guilt trip, right? I mean, while I have for a large part of my life been in the corporate, and I did take a decision to quit from the corporate around the time, and I felt the family needed my time, so I'll do a few other things. And I remained guilty for a very long time because I happened to be the first woman who was hired into the leadership team in 15 years of that particular service line's existence. So I thought, okay, I think for the next 15, 20 years, they won't hire another woman because they'll say, oh, she couldn't deal with it, right? And a few months later, my colleague, who was a man, he called me and he said, I've quit. And I said, okay, where are you joining now? So he said, I'm not yet joining anywhere. But one thing I know is I don't want to do such late evenings. I don't want to do US hours. I don't want to do so much of travel because my first child was born and I was not there for the child. Now the second child is born and I don't want it to be a repeat. So yeah, even men do go through it. Maybe they don't express and maybe they don't take such actions. But yeah, I think each one to ourselves. We do what we think is right. We don't have to necessarily answer, can she have it all, to the rest of the world. It is, answer to ourselves and keep at it. Kuntal, do you want to go next?
I can. I think kind of similar to what a lot of the other panelists have been saying, right? Aside from the entrepreneurship, I can kind of talk about, what happens often in my case is, and it's a question that actually makes me laugh because, I'll talk about my background. And this is often when we're fundraising or, pitching or talking about the service in general. And suddenly somebody will ask me, who's building the algorithms? And I'm like, I am. I think contrary to what Niti said, I actually am pretty clear that I won't just let my work speak for itself somewhere down the future. I will kind of go ahead and expand, and then I will make also the discussion a little bit more technical so that the person realizes that I know what I'm talking about. I've just been simplifying it so far so that you can follow along. But if you are actually going to try and understand what is it that I do and what is it that I can't do, I will then go ahead and make it more technical, throw in terms and see what happens, right? So I think, you do need to kind of stand up. You do need to address certain things at that point itself. And of course, proof is in the pudding. I do agree, Niti, that while I think there can be a lot of things around, this business may not be successful and this business may not make sense, etc. and all that. Finally, if traction is there and there's customer love, there is nothing that anyone can do in disputing it. That aspect, no one can dispute. So I think you can decide what battles to fight and not. But your focus has to be on, okay, I'm going to make sure that I'm building a business that customers love, because once that happens, everything else falls into place.
Absolutely. I also want to tell our audience that we will have a small, segment of taking your questions that are coming up on the chat. So we will reach there soon. Claire, I'm sure you will have a different perspective to this question on the biases and stereotypes, from where you come and the work that you have done. So we would love to hear from you.
Oh, yes. So everybody has said one thing or the other that is quite similar across the continent. And you find that biases for women is an everyday thing. It's constant. It will never go away. So women have to first and foremost assert themselves and tell themselves that I am in this business to succeed, and irrespective of the challenges that my system, my culture, brings in front of me, I will do everything possible to succeed. Cultural bias for us in this part of the world is major. Major because as a woman, you're first and foremost seen as the primary caregiver. So that in itself is one of the biggest challenges that women face here. You find women who run small businesses at some point closing up businesses because they have to prioritize family first. And until there's some sort of balance, and this is why gender equality to a very large extent plays a significant role in how we can grow the economy. Women would come to me and say, I want to start a business, I'm running a business, but I have the challenge of finding the right place to, for example, rent property. Nobody wants to rent property to me because I am a woman. This is a consistent challenge. So women have been selling from homes and now they want to scale, they want to improve businesses. But to get access to a decent property, you have to come with a man. Otherwise, you will probably or most likely not get it, except, for example, you are very high placed or highly placed and you can also avoid such challenges. That's one of the major issues. A woman wants to rent a small kiosk somewhere. She can't do that until her husband comes to sign as a guarantor. A woman wants to hire workforce, quality workforce. Some people come in and say, because of cultural issues, I can't answer to a woman. A woman is heading and leading certain portfolios, and people already look down on her and say, oh, she may not be able to cope. Are you emotionally balanced? So these biases are there. And I think one of the key areas that, while these biases are there, women need to ensure that first and foremost that they consistently build competence. Because when you are in a room filled with men, most people will want to test you as a woman. And if you are not seen to be able to meet up and pass some of this in quote tests, they already have placed some sort of judgment on you. And I say this, one of the best things we can do for women, again, aside from just building competence, is to also build self-confidence for them. That also is a major differentiator. Sometimes women know what to do. Women are better off in terms of understanding the businesses that are even co-founded by both male and female. But you find that just that fear of projecting themselves, they don't want to be seen to be too dominant or too assertive. That also causes challenges for them. And so even when women startups prop up, you find that many of them are looking for male co-founders, not necessarily because the male co-founder understands, and I clearly identify with what Kuntal has said, because sometimes they feel like it's the man who does all the technical stuff. Whereas we find a lot of women going into these areas, building capacities in terms of coding, in terms of, strengthening their algorithms. And it's quite difficult. And then again, the expectation that as a woman, you have to fit a certain box to be seen as competent is quite frustrating. We see this happen in terms of, accessing finance. And the good thing is that the abilities for women to also now access grants, which is a very good way to also build and raise capital, is actually springing up from different corners. You find partners organizations looking at how to strengthen women's access to finance, because that is also a major issue. One thing I do know we're trying to strengthen at UNDP, beyond just providing access to grants, providing access to opportunities for women to access finance. One of the key things that women need to do is actually study, learn, and improve competencies, understanding how their businesses can grow from one stage to the other. And even just recently, there's a project that UNDP is championing, where we're opening up space for women, especially to access, funding to build and scale up their businesses. I think we cannot say this enough. Technology offers a lot of opportunities for women to grow, to shine, but there is still a major disparity in terms of how women access this. So we're oftentimes limited to the basics when there's so much to grab at the very top. And as we continue to create that awareness that women can actually achieve and do and enable themselves, I think we also need to tell the success stories of women like Anita, Kuntal, that are already doing great work. And we need to shine the light on women doing great work, women achieving, so that more women have the courage and the competence to show themselves. Because every small win for a woman anywhere in the world is a win for a woman any part of the world, especially in African economies where women do have the largest number of informal businesses, but unfortunately you find that they also have the highest number of dropouts when it comes to sustaining their businesses. So a man can set up a business and can sustain that business for 5 years, but women, you set up a business and in 3 years you're closing shop because of the expectations of the home front. So a key area that we are also trying to support women is the ability to help them find competent workforce that can help them support their businesses, so that even when you're not there to run that business, you have skilled manpower to help you support your businesses. And this is an area where UNDP is really championing, providing the right set of skill sets, especially for MSMEs and especially for women-owned MSMEs to thrive. So we keep trying to close that gender gap. We keep trying to close that barrier so that more women can enter into and sustain their businesses. Over.
Thank you so much, Claire. And I so it's the same across the world, right? It's across the world. And how many of us have got the cooking question right? I've got it plenty of times, and yeah, I've had my ways of addressing that. Anyways, we won't. That's a discussion for another day. I strongly believe that many of these biases are unconscious, and what is required is awareness. Awareness amongst everyone to understand their own biases, and then a conscious effort to not bring those biases at play every day. So I think we've definitely achieved that level of awareness, a little bit of bringing that level of awareness of what women entrepreneurs experience as a bias and a stereotype today. And for those of you in the audience that are currently experiencing it, you heard some brilliant tips on how to handle the same. Last night I read this social media post, and some of you would know this woman entrepreneur, Vandana Suri, who's the founder of TaxShe, safe mobility solutions for women and kids, based out of Bangalore. While she started it as the need for a woman driver to drive women and kids around, she then launched a driving school for women. And yesterday's post, and I'm going to put that post out, on chat for everyone to kind of read, but there was a couple of lines which she said, so right now, I have way too much business that I can handle, and I'm looking for more firebrands to join me. For me, firebrands are the ones who have the fire in the belly to make things happen. Those who know they will survive the worst and emerge as leaders. You believing in yourself is a must. So we would like to hear from each of the firebrands here in terms of what is next for you and your brand. Let's start with Roshni.
Yeah, thanks, Neeraj. So, as you know, starting and growing the business is challenging experience, and what I want for me and Uniqin and for all of us in Uniqin, the team Uniqin, is to make it 1 million ARR by 2024 end. And I know that it's a big, ambitious goal, but I am sure that confident that we will be able to deliver that. And we have everything in place. We have also, customer validation and everything. And we want to really kind of make money for ourselves and the investors who have trusted us. So I think, I believe that women entrepreneurs can bring kind of unique perspective and skills to the table. And I'm excited to be part of this growing network. Thanks for having me on Rise. And that's it. I'm committed to growing Uniqin.ai. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much. Anita, what's next for your brand?
So for me, I'm loving the fact that Iora is getting more and more presence in various stores. Like just yesterday, we started a place, a store. Our products are placed at Sarkari Bhandar at Juhu. They also placed at Fresh Pick at NSCI Club Worli. So these two were really big wins that happened for Iora yesterday. And slowly but surely, we are expanding our reach in terms of our products. Whether it is the salon segment, we're coming up with interesting products. We've revamped our entire packaging. Even with Iora, we're expanding in those categories. But one thing I noticed yesterday when I was mulling over this question is that I've realized over the years, the woman workforce in my office has increased. And we have close to almost 75% of our workforce is women today. It makes things so much easier. And I feel they're so much more committed and dedicated to bringing, or seeing the company grow and have that common goal. And I always take an opportunity to help women entrepreneurs. I'm always cheering for them. And I think it's like in when I see another woman entrepreneur succeeding, I feel like going, yay, So yeah, that's what I love, and that's the way forward, I guess.
Fantastic. And, that's what I said, right? So one is, we want more women entrepreneurs, but what happens is an offshoot of that is the perspectives that they bring, the products and services that they build, and hence also the employees that they probably bring into the organization and the ecosystem, just improves the number of women out there. So yeah. Who wants to go next in terms of the brand? Kuntal, Niti, please. Kuntal?
Hi. So I think earlier we spoke about B2C and B2B segments, right? And I almost felt like chiming in at that point. So I think for us, what we've kind of realized is that the problem that we're solving for women is something that they face everywhere, on every single platform, on every single site that they go to, where, if they could just have a way to make it easier for them to find what they love. In fact, we've had a lot of our own customers also come and say that, oh, could you shop for me on Myntra? Or could you shop for me on so-and-so site? Because I love what you do, but I also want to kind of have access to the Myntra sale or the Myntra, discounts or whatever it is. And so that is the journey that we're taking. Instead of growing alone, I kind of like to say it's like it's like the Shopify story, right? Or like the Amazon and the AWS story, where instead of AWS was introduced by Amazon for its own purposes, but it is something that they gave to the world. And that's what we're seeing. Instead of just growing at this on our own, we can actually grow on the shoulders of other giants and other retailers who need this as much as we feel that we do. So that's the next step for us. We're moving to a B2B platform.
Wonderful, wonderful. And good luck, Kuntal, on that. And I think one of the things that Triza also told us was eventually we need more collaborations, right? It is a collaboration that kind of helps everyone be successful. Niti, what's next for you?
Absolutely.
Oh, a lot of things. So with We in One, we're very proud because we believe in a made-to-order model for now. So we're very proud that we've never had a dead stock inventory. We are just blessed because we've still been working on a 0% return rate. We've never got a return order ever, even if we sell online. And now we are also trying to develop new collections which are completely zero wastage. So we were like, why not, Unfortunately, like Anita, I cannot have an all-women team yet because I've trained people very hard in my team and I don't wish to switch them. But I was like, okay, why not find some other meaningful ways to do it? So yes, those are the different kind of segments that we are getting into, and we are moving more towards being a highly sustainable and a purposeful brand. So that is our goals for 2023.
And we wish you all luck, and our wishes will stay with you, and look forward to seeing that next phase of your life, Niti. We could go on and on with this discussion, but we do need to close. But before we wind up our discussion, would love to hear a quick closing remark from each of you as advice to women entrepreneurs, wannabe entrepreneurs who are maybe currently there, those who gave up, and we want all of them to get back, right? So starting with Anita, quick advice.
I would tell the women that, things are so competitive. So it's important that you have a keen introspection and mastery on whichever field you are getting into in order to gain that momentum in your field. And one thing that always has been my mantra is do not make permanent decisions on the basis of temporary setbacks. So that is something that I stick by. And the only question I ask myself all the time is this a curve or is this the end? Because many a times in your entrepreneurial journey, you will feel, shit, I've hit the wall. I don't think there is another way from here now. That's when you need to introspect and understand that this is just a temporary setback. And do not make a permanent decision in that frame of mind. That's all I want to tell and advise women entrepreneurs.
Sure. Kuntal?
I think as all of us have been kind of talking about our journeys, I think the one thing that's pretty evident is there are a lot of ups and downs. And sometimes I think that up and down in your head happens even before you start. I've seen a lot of people look at a bunch of different questions that, oh, will this happen, that happen? Do I look at funding? Do I get a tech founder? I don't have any tech skills. There's so much that they're going through where, they kind of get into inaction. They don't move forward. And my advice to everyone, whether you're starting or whether you're, through the journey, if it's a matter of figuring out what you can do, you need to understand what's going to come out of this. And I'm a big believer of being able to test it in the best way possible. In the startup world, there's this whole concept known as a lean startup or MVP. And you can have an MVP in every single way. It's not just at the beginning. And today we have tools and we have technology that allow you to figure out that, does somebody love what I'm building? Does somebody value what I'm building? Then I can sit and think about everything else. Everything else is like, external. I would say it's like accessorizing. But do people love what you're bringing to the world? And are you excited about what you're bringing to the world, right? Because at the end of the day, the founder's ability to run, or not even run, but to be consistent, be part of this journey is very critical. So I think don't get caught up so much in the analysis and the exercise of, should I not, could I, etc. and all that. And especially women get a lot of external things thrown at them as well, right? Whether it's from family or friends, just go and test it out. And it's easier than you think. You can build a Shopify site within a day. It's that straightforward.
Thank you, Kuntal. That was a lot of confidence. Niti?
Oh, this is my favorite thing. I always tell people never, never, never give up. There'll be millions of people around you who will be waiting to pull you down and put you in doubt. But if you believe in your gut, and trust me, women intuitions are very, very strong. So if we have that intuition in our head, and if our gut feeling says that this is something that is going to be correct for me, it has to go the right way, because then you also kind of manifest it and you work hard towards it. So never, never, never give up, and just don't listen to people around you. You can, it's okay to ignore a lot of things that come to you, but just keep going ahead. And like Anita said, there are roadblocks, but just keep moving ahead.
Sure, just listen to your advisor. Right. Roshni?
Yeah, so I think I would, most of the points got covered. So I would say that, have a supportive network with you, have a supporting team, whether it is mentor or advisor or your family members. Let there be people along with you, people to talk to. Because sometimes building a company, building a, kind of an organization can be lonely. So you need people who would understand your issues, right? So you need other founders. So be part of these networks, talk to them. So there should be some 3 or 4, people that you can talk to. So I was speaking to my mentor, Rajiv Prakash. So he was saying that he got me introduced to SaaS Boomi and, things like that, so different kind of network where we can go meet people who are going through similar kind of issues, and you can network, talk to people. I think it's very important to have a supporting network, and it is possible to build that if you do not already have it. So just go for it, and I think everything is possible.
Yes, Roshni, my favorite one, the networking piece. And I always say, start now. You cannot dig a well when you're thirsty. So it doesn't matter whatever stage of life and phase of life you are in, whether you feel you need it or you will never need it, but please be at it. Building a network is super important for many, many things, right? Including entrepreneurship. Claire, a quick, note from you, advice for everyone here.
My quick advice would be technology has made life as simple and easy for so many. And so where you don't even have the resources to start big, take advantage of what technology offers. And information is power. So take advantage of the information that is everywhere, grab them, hold on to them, continue to build capacity, and more importantly, take that confidence with you everywhere you go, occupy space, and show them that you can win, especially when you believe in yourself. I think it's just important for women to know that it is possible. And when they start small, they can move on to the next stage of growing their businesses. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we have some questions in the chat box. So let me just read a couple of them. Mamta Chauhan has a question. She hasn't necessarily said who should answer this, so anyone can take it. Since there are lots and lots of women not having this much expertise and exposure to technology, social media, networking tools, etc., but want to set up their business, what is your advice to them? Anyone?
So I think, can I answer that? Because
Please go ahead, please go ahead.
yeah, even I started, it's my first company. And when I got started, there was quite a lot of things that even to register, even to, kind of do the basic things, you do not know. I mean, quite a lot of things, right? So it's always good to be part of one of these, kind of a, what you call the, incubator,
Platforms,
yeah,
incubators.
some kind of platform or incubator, and also talk to people who are kind of started and gone through the similar journey. So I think that would really help. So there is quite a lot of incubator for women today, like even that from Atal Incubation Center, which is from government. You have AIC Banastali. So because I was part of it, I'm talking about it, and it's pretty good bunch of people who's very helpful. So you can look at that and then aspire for her and entrepreneurism, and there is quite a lot. So I would say that probably looking at one of those would really help.
Definitely, definitely. So this is something that I tell people, regardless of entrepreneurship or whatever else they want to do. Don't be fussed about oh, this is an event that is not aligned to what I want to do. Right? The amount of learning that you get from diverse events and the diverse networks that you become part of is brilliant. So yesterday I landed up at an AWS event, which was for fintechs. I'm not doing anything with fintech. And I'm not into technology for me to, kind of really go and listen to all the cloud related stuff. But I showed up there, I stayed for the whole day. It was a brilliant learning experience, which I know in some ways it is going to change my mindset towards a few things, and it will enable me with in other ways in whatever I wish to do. But the network that I formed there is going to be very different to if I go and end up in a DNI kind of event, diversity and inclusion, which is what I kind of do largely. So yes, there's enough and more out there, online, offline, across the globe. You just need to calendarize it to say, okay, I want to spend a little bit of time every week, every month doing this, which is interacting with people and learning a few things, and you're set for yourself. Kuntal, there's a question for you again from Mamta. What are your views about a number of government schemes which are available for propagating MSMEs startups?
I think you should see if you qualify and go for it. I mean, there are lots of, it's as simple as that. There are lots of founders who have actually gotten grant schemes if they're working in fields, if they're working on projects and initiatives which the government is excited about. So why not? I mean, I think the big question, for everyone to ask them, especially women, there's a lot of stuff about should I not? I mean, what is the worst that can happen? You won't get it, right? I've often had so many people say, oh, I don't know if I should email or call somebody. What will happen? Worst case, they will not respond. Big deal. I mean, I have actually gotten funding by emailing people on LinkedIn and kind of talking about who I am, what I'm doing. Obviously craft something good, don't just put anything out there, right? But worst case, you will get ignored. It's okay. So I'm just saying, the same thing, Mamta. I mean, figure out the schemes that actually are applicable to you, that you stand a good chance in, and go for it.
Absolutely. What's the worst that can happen? A very beautiful mantra that I forever follow. Even yesterday, there was someone who messaged. Somebody asked me if I can refer a mentor, a coach, because there is this lady who is unable to speak during interviews. Public speaking, is not what she can do. So, can someone coach? So I said, let me have a chat with her. She's a highly accomplished woman. The problem is not that she can't speak. The problem is that she's scared, right? So I asked, what's the worst that can happen, right? Just keep that. If you are going into a meeting with someone senior, she said, there's a meeting at 12. I said, so what's the worst that can happen? I lose face. I said, it's okay. It's all right, right? He's not going to kill you. And that's the worst for us, right? As long as we have our life, I think we can live another day. We can do a lot of other things. So that's a fantastic mantra, which can tell you the answers. Instead of what's in it for me, I think if you say what's the worst that can happen, I think it can just kind of, propel you forward. So yeah. Let me see if there are any other questions before we. There are a lot of thank yous for, all the discussion that we had. It doesn't look like there is any other question. So I'll bring this discussion to a close. We at Aspire for Her have a vision to add $5 billion to India's GDP by adding 1 million plus women in the workforce by 2025. And one of the main pillars of our platform is communities. We have a vibrant community of women entrepreneurs called EntrepreNaaris. And we at Aspire for Her ensure that our EntrepreNaaris don't come tumbling after. We rewrite our fairy tales and nursery rhymes in the way you have heard from the EntrepreNaaris today. So we encourage everyone to join Aspire for Her. I think the links have already been put out by my colleague Subha on the chat. And you can join any of the communities, whichever community resonates with you. And for sure, for women entrepreneurs, EntrepreNaaris is the community. We commit to turn every woman's career aspiration to action using the power of communities. So thank you once again, Anita, Claire, Niti, Roshni, and Kuntal for taking time out and, for really enabling all of us with this phenomenal discussion. And I really thank RISE for this brilliant summit and the opportunity provided to us for this conversation. Raisa.
Thank
for
you,
having
Nirja.
us
I
on
think
this
you
panel. And
Thank you.
Thank you, Nirja. It was a brilliant conversation, and thank you to all the panelists for all your tips, sharing your experiences, and overall boosting the confidence of the attendees. And a shout out to attendees who have been posting questions and who have been interacting in the chat group as well. It was a brilliant session, and just to announce that if you're a women entrepreneur attending the session and would like to get 3 hours of mentorship time from some of our panelists, I have left a link of the Google form. Do fill in, and we will be responding to you in 2 weeks time. So do fill in over there. Do share what mentorship you're looking for, and we will get back to you. Thank you so much for this brilliant session, and bye everyone. I hope you're continuing to the next sessions of the Rise World Summit.